Question is from Cassie in Kuala Lumpur. And Cassie in KL says, if decisions make who I am, then what should I base my values on? All right, so the example I gave to you is because I'm a person of faith, I base my values on the Bible, on God, right? So for other people, like say if you don't have any faith, you do need to have something that you base your values upon. Or else what happens is, it's very easy for you to go left and right and left and right. And that's why for those of you who don't have values to base it on, you should actually start thinking about what type of person you want to be. Like if let's just say, it's like Cassie, you want to be an honest person, then if honesty is one of the things that you really, really hold yourself to, then in your decision, it has to be honest. Right? If you're someone that is more about your freedom of expression more than just having a job 9 to 5 sitting in a cubicle, then you're going to have that choice too, right? So you need to kind of have your own value system, and the reason I gave mine is because my values, that's my value system, just to give you an example of how I would do it. And mine is based on the Bible, it's based on my faith, and from that, it's very easy for me to think and pray and look at the scriptures and say, okay, this is probably a better answer. I pray and I get inspiration. If you don't pray, Cassie, I do recommend that you at least meditate. Get yourself into this really good state where you can really think rationally and reasonably, where you're not affected by emotion, like, oh, I really want that pink car. Like, no. You got to think rationally, emotionally of what is the better thing for you that authors your life, okay? And sometimes it might be what everyone thinks you should be, and that's okay. But your reasoning should be for yourself more than anything else. And then, yeah, so everyone needs to get some type of value system that they have to hold on to, okay? Let's go to the next one. Sam and PJ. Sam and PJ writes, when choosing a job, should I go with the potential for development or current passion and interests? And once again, this is purely up to you, right? Because you're looking at your value system, because something could be developmental and incremental leading towards something, and something could be just pure passion. But you also have to look at all different aspects where, let me give you an example, like say Nike. The people who started Nike were passionate about it, but it didn't mean that they just quit all their full-time jobs and then all of a sudden they just started trying to make it, they go broke and they're trying to make this shoe company of Nike. They all worked full-time jobs and did it on the weekend. And when it got big enough, they were able to quit their jobs and go full into Nike, right? They went door to door, getting people to invest in it. They didn't just go like this, well, my passion is shoes, so I'm gonna quit all my jobs. No, it wasn't like that. They were thinking they're thinking about, oh, what will eventually lead to the place where I want to be. And if I do it this way, it could end really quickly. And this way, it'll take a little bit longer, but it has a much higher chance of ending up being where I should be. Why? Because the people in Nike think to themselves, well, in order to start a company, we need lots of money, which means what? They're still working and saving money to start their company. You get what I'm saying? So you're not thinking just right now, you're thinking also long term of, which one will get me to the place where I want to be? Which means sometimes you may have to sacrifice a little bit now to get something better later. So it's hard to just say potential and development compared to current passion and interest, because this current passion may always be there, but you may need some time to get to that point before you can be like self-reliant or self-sustainable with that type of job. Does that make sense? So it's something that you have to sit down and really think, pray, or meditate about, okay? Let's go over to Joanna in KL. Joanna says, how to make a decision that we won't regret about later on. Okay, so here's the thing. The one thing that you should know about your decisions, remember, is not about there's no such thing as one is better than the other. And that's the first thing that kind of, Joanna, we have to get into our minds is, honestly, we don't know which one is actually better. They're relatively equal. They're relatively equal, right? The moment you get into the thought of one is better than the other, this is when it becomes very, very difficult. These two decisions that you're making, you have to think of them, they are actually, if it was really easy, if one was really better than the other, then it would have been an easy decision. You would just been like, all right, okay, let's just do this because it's much better. But we realize is they're very, very similar, which means for us too, we have to realize those decisions, you have to think about, yeah, there isn't one that is that much better than the other. Which means that, why is it hard? Why is it a hard decision? Because now it's based on my values. Values like passion, love, interest, for my children, family. There's all these other things that come in that are immeasurable. And this is why, if you understand that one is not really better than the other, they're just two paths we're taking. It's about which one that you author yourself to go into. And this is when you don't get regrets. Because just because something doesn't work doesn't mean the other one was the better path. Because it is possible that both become failures, isn't it? It's so possible that both might not work out. And that's why you don't want to get yourself into that trap of saying, oh no, I regret doing this because I should have done that. No, there's no way we would know. The reason why it's a hard decision is because we don't know which one is better. And we have to get into our heads is, it's a hard decision because they're relatively equal, relatively. We don't even know if both of them will be successful or both of them will fail, or one or the other. We don't. And this is why you have to avoid getting into that mindset of, oh no, I regret this. There's no need to, right? Because you're basing it on what you feel. Like, I'll give you that one example about cheating on your resume, right? Cheating on my resume. So let's just say that 9 out of 10 people cheat on their resume so they can get a job. I'm not going to, because of my value system, the way I believe, I am not going to cheat on that resume. Even if I don't get the job. Because that's what matters to me, is that honesty, right? That righteousness. And because I did that, that makes who I am. It does. And that matters to me more than did I get the job or not. Right? So for yourself is, these values become very important of where you base which side you want to go to. Right? And both sides are going to be difficult anyways, but I want you, Joanna, that's a great question, but I want people not to regret, because honestly, you don't really know. Okay, let's move on to the next question from Aaron Aubrey in Japan. Okay, says, I've been struggling to choose between using my time to take care of myself versus others. What can I do to improve my decision making? Where is the line between being selfless and being reckless? Great question. All right. The more important part is your decisions are too much on one side or the other. It's very, very extreme. You know what that means? It means that you should be somewhere where you're balancing taking care of yourself and taking care of others. Because taking care of others is a great thing we do. And it's part of our value system in life. But it doesn't make any sense that you take care of everyone except yourself and then you die. Well, then what's the use, right? There's no point in being like, hey, how many bubble talks do you want to do a week? No, let's do 7. We'll do one every day. And it could be valuable to people if I do one every day, but I might end up killing myself, right? Just like, oh, there's too much, I can't take, and I burn out, and then there's no more bubble talks ever. It's better to have one bubble talk a week for 10 years than having one bubble talk a day for like 10 months. So we have to think about ourselves too, is you need to put yourself in a balance of doing both. Doing both. Yeah, and my recommendation for you, Aaron, is you need to set your personal time aside. Taking care of yourself doesn't mean, okay, today I'm going to say no to this. No, you actually have to set your personal time. You do. My personal time is usually Fridays and Saturdays at certain times. I said it. I have certain meetings during the day, but I have my personal time. That's my personal time. And I said it for myself. You have to schedule your personal time. Don't sit there like, I'll put my personal time in when I see there's time. It doesn't work that way. You have to set in your personal time. And that becomes an actual schedule that no one touches. It's almost like saying that I have a class tonight. And if you say that, oh, I have a class tonight, no one bothers you, right? Hey, I have work, so I can't meet. They're not going to say like, oh, well, why you go to work so much? It's like, well, because I make money and it's 9 to 5. Doesn't everyone have a job? When you say you have a job, no one says anything. In the same way too, your personal time, set it as a real schedule that is yours. Don't just try to find gaps and holes. Why? Gaps and holes you can never prepare for. But if you have this time set aside, like, oh, what should I do with that time? You know what? I'm going to do this because I really want to learn something. Oh, I really want to try this. You can prepare for those times that are yours, right? So definitely schedule in your personal time. Don't just slip it in like little holes and cracks. It doesn't work that way. You're not taking care of yourself, all right? Thank you, Aaron, for that question. Let's go to, let's see, Shreyas. I'm sorry. I have no idea how to say it. Shreyas, right? I feel like I'm a kid, like Shreyas, right? Shreyas, Shreyas, from the Philippines. Is it a boy or a girl? Is it a boy? It's a man? It's a guy? Okay, cool. All right, Shreyas. You're like one of the very few guys, you and like Aaron, right? It says, why do I have difficulty in making decisions even for the simplest thing every day? And what can I do to correct this? Okay. Usually people have a really hard time with the simplest ones is because you think it's bigger than it really is. Like for instance, in the morning, whether you want to eat a donut or toast, it is a small decision. And one is healthier and one isn't, but it's not really going to like destroy your day, right? For the simplest decisions, like if you have really, really simple decisions, if I were you, and if it's really like, if you know it's simple, then realize that, hey, I'm gonna do this today. Let me try the other one tomorrow, see which one's better. Right? The reason why you have a hard time with simple decisions because you think the decision is bigger than it really is. Right? It's not like the job. It's not like the career. It's not like the this. It's not like these things where it takes a long time to change. Right? You can eat half a donut and say, you know what? I'm going to save the half of this donut for tomorrow, and I'm going to eat a half a bowl of cereal. And you can do half and half. Right? So there are some simple things where you can even compromise and say, I'm going to have half a donut, and I'm going to have half a bowl of cereal. It works that way too, where you can, when it's simple stuff, you can actually even take half of one and half of the other. Right? But if you're having really, really hard times with it, and it's simple, and you know it's simple, flip a coin. Because it's not that important if you think it's really, really simple. But if it's something that's gonna, like, simple decision is not like, should I study or should I go out with my friends? Like, that is something where you're actually really deciding in your head, and that's when it comes to your values that you're living by. Right? So I'm hoping that when you say simple decisions, simple ones are like, should I go to school or sleep more? And obviously you should go to school, right? Should I eat this bug that I found on the ground? Or should I eat this toast that I just made? Like those are simple ones, right? Like I hope you're not going to pick up the cockroach and like, oh, let's just try this out. Right? And all the juice is coming down your chin. No, forget it. Don't worry about it. Right? So simple decisions, realize they are simple, right? And that you can try the other one the next day. Right? Diane in the Philippines. Diane in the Philippines. Cool. How do you know that the decision you're about to make is what God wants you to follow? Great question. Okay, so I'm going to be very, very honest with you, and this might sound so cliche. You will know when you know. And you're like, what? Like, I'm going to give you, like, this is what someone told me before. Someone asked me, like, because I counsel with people when it comes to like finding their wife or husband too, and they're like it's so weird, Pastor Sky, because like how do I know this person's the one for me? Like I don't know. Like when will I find out? And the answer is like for instance, I'll tell them you need to I want you to really, really pray about it, and I want you to get your answer from God. Like, well, I prayed and didn't get an answer. I'm like, well, how many times did you pray? And she's like, I don't know. I just prayed for like 10-15 minutes. I was like, you have to pray until you get it. And that's why when you hear these amazing stories, when it comes to people of faith, the people with amazing stories are the ones that they got an answer. And they're like, whoa, like I know some stories, even of some people that are watching right now, that they got the answer. They got dreams, they got these inspirations, and they're like, whoa, this is exactly, and then things work out. Or things might not work out until a little bit later, right? So when it comes to us and God, yeah, it's something that we need to check over and over, pray about. Talk to other people of faith and say, hey, I was thinking about this, and I was wondering about this. What would you do in this situation, right? Reading the words, listening to the words, praying about it, asking God for answers. And if I were, as a person of faith, I would be very detailed. Like I even tell God sometimes, close the doors of the things I shouldn't do. Like if that's not the way, close it. I don't even want to get there. Right? So you're gonna know it when you know it, which means if you don't know it, it means that you haven't gotten to the point where the decision is made. But also one other thing you have to realize is some things don't need God's decision. Like, should I, let's just go like something very extreme. Like, okay, let's go very extreme, really extreme, right? What would be very extreme? Like, should I eat a raw cat? I know this sounds stupid, right? Should I eat this cat right now, just bite off some of its stomach? Or should I have really good food, right? Like some stuff like this, it doesn't need like God to tell you that because it's kind of a normal thing, right? So a lot of the decisions that we make, some of them are what we have to make for our own. That's our free will. And there are some things that are more bigger that we're wondering, oh, what's the best thing to do? But if I were to tell you, yeah, pray about it, which sounds so cliche, but I'll tell you this, answers that I've received, when I know for sure. Like I know for sure, okay? Let's move over to, thank you so much, Diane in the Philippines. Let's go to Esther and Adelaide. Esther and Adelaide asks, how do you stop other people making your decisions for you? If you don't like disappointing people or if they manipulate your emotions, it's hard to even know what you want. True, right? And this is the thing. Number one is what I talked about today is you need to know your value set first, right? You need to know what your value set is first, what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do, right? What will make you the person you authorize your own life, right? Yeah, one of the hard parts is, yes, for each person at a different level, we don't like disappointing people that we love, right? We don't. And then some people try to manipulate the situation like, hey, but you know what? Oh, if you did this, your dad would really be happy. And you're like, oh, that's true, and I love my dad. And of course, people try to manipulate it, right? But one thing I definitely implore for everyone, because this is such a great question from Esther, get all your information first and don't make a decision at that moment. If you feel like, oh, what am I doing? At that point, the moment you're feeling like, oh, I don't want to I feel guilty. Oh, they're making me feel guilty. Never make a decision then. Say, hey, I'll get back to you tomorrow. Hey, I'm a person of faith. I'll say, you know what? I'm going to think about this. I'm going to pray about this. I'm going to look into this first, and then I'll give you a decision. And my decision has to come when I am sure of it and when I'm calmed down so I can make a rational and reasonable decision. A lot of times, people try to push you into a decision which is the wrong thing. Like, hey, tell me now. Tell me now what you want to do. Tell me now, right? And you're like, no, whoa. It's an important decision for me, and I don't want to just sit on this like this. I'm going to make my decision, and that's my decision. And if you're someone, and you know that you're someone that can easily change your mind, I'm dead serious. Write it on paper and give it to them. Like, that's your decision. It's done. Because if you tell them like this, hey, I've decided not to. Oh, really? But your dad's going to be so disappointed. Your dad's going to be like, oh, but what about this? Oh, but this, oh my gosh, that's so not good. Right? But then all of a sudden they're trying to manipulate you again into that situation. I would write it down. That's yours. Say, hey, this is my decision. You can read it. You can decide on your own, but this is my decision no matter what. At the end, this is it. Right? And this is something that a lot of people will try to do, is to push you into the decision right then on the spot. But you want to get all the advice and all the guidance and then take a step back. Look at it and then see where your value system is. Because it's not like God wants you to do what they want. No. God wants you to do what He and you want together. It's between the two of you. And that's why we get all of our guidance. And then we make our decision. We talk with God. We pray about it, right? So I hope it's something that we don't do right away. Right? But sit back and kind of calm yourself down and make the reasonable, rational decision. Great question, by the way, Esther. Let's take a look at Jean Lee in Singapore. Jean Lee in Singapore. Someone asked me this, but I'm not sure how to answer. How do you deal with guilt for not doing enough, not praying enough, or praying deeply enough, even though you've tried your best? Okay. So, yeah, this is a tough question because one thing, speaking of being manipulative, right? The reason why people can be manipulative is because they think that everyone's on the same standard. Like, everyone is like this. Everyone should be at this level. And that's a very, very tricky thing, because if you start judging everyone at the same level, then the only person is good is going to be the person at this level. And you might think you look down on other people also. The one thing that we really want to do when it comes to people that we talk to and people ask these questions like, oh, why do you feel guilty and stuff, right? You want to always bring everyone to where each and every person's standard of level is. Example, as someone who's a pastor, there could be someone who is just new to faith, which means that I'm looking at them at the level of someone new to faith, and they are doing amazing. And then I look at someone who is like very, very like been in faith. They've done so many other different things, and you look at them like, ugh, right? And then theirs is up here, and you couldn't compare the two because it's like comparing apples and oranges, right? The one thing that we have to remember for ourselves is everyone is at a different level or different step in our life, a stage in our life. And because everyone's at a different stage, we're going to be, some people are going to be here, some people are there, and we just have to recognize what stage that everyone else is in. And the last thing we want to do is put everyone on the same stage and say everyone should be here. Everyone should be going out and doing this for 3 hours a day. Listen, it's ridiculous to think about it this way. Situation, circumstance, environment, they're all different. They are. They're all different, right? So someone says this, don't lie. I'm like, okay. Now, what if you're going to North Korea to preach the gospel and you have Bibles in your backpack and they say, hey, what's in your backpack? And you know if you say Bibles, what's going to happen? They're going to totally come against you. And they're going to be like, nope, you're not allowed in. They're going to discard all, you're going to go to jail, whatever, right? Yeah, you got to think about that. What do you think is going to happen? Yeah, we wrapped up all of our Bibles into like these teachers' books so that we could bring them in, right? So you have to think about this very, very carefully, right? Everyone's in a different situation, different stage, different environment, and we have to make sure that everyone is comfortable knowing where they are, okay? So I hope that helps you out, Jean Lee in Singapore. And I hope Josh is doing really well too. I hope you guys enjoy that bubble tea this week, and we'll see you guys again next week. Everyone have a wonderful day. How to make hard decisions. We'll see you again, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.